All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 5 of the
The
Dilemma.
Dilemma. Episode 5, and we still don't have that down, but
I know. I mean, I think perfectly imperfect is,
kind of the theme of today, so it
yeah.
goes with it.
So,
Um, well, I guess we'll start out. How was your week, Gigi?
it was good. I'm just like trying to like make sure I'm meeting all my deadlines for different projects that I'm working
Mm-hmm.
on. A couple of extracurricular activities of projects of like planning things for helping my friends plan some stuff, like dipping my toe in event planning and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. How was your
Yeah.
week, JJ?
Yeah, I think kind of the same. Nothing super notable happened, honestly. Mostly had a really crazy week at work, trying to stay organized. I think for a lot of this week, I actually felt like I was in a bit of a slump for some reason. I was just thinking a lot about um the past and sort of maybe reminiscing a bit too
Hmm.
much this week, which I don't normally do, but for some reason, I don't know, my mind was on the past this week. Today was really good though. I woke up and the weather was really beautiful and I just kind of sat down, started planning the podcast a little bit,
Ooh,
and I felt very productive and it was a nice feeling, celebrating small wins.
nice. I love the feeling, especially on the weekend, particularly on Saturdays, of like just being able to wake up early and then like doing things like going to the farmer's market or getting dressed and getting ready for the day and just like feeling
Yeah.
productive. I love those days, especially either on Saturdays or the days that I'm working remote. It just makes me motivated to
Mhm.
do more. So,
Absolutely. As we were saying earlier, topic for today is the pressure that we feel in our 20s to have everything figured out when in reality, the 20s are such a pivotal decade.
right.
And and nobody has it all figured out. I don't know a single person whose life is completely in order.
Grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
You might not see the whole picture. So you might have this idea of someone like, oh, they have it all together, but it might not actually be, you know.
Yeah. I think that there's this really weird and unrealistic societal expectation that by the time you're 25, you need to have a solid career, at least a solid start to a career, a stable relationship, financial stability, and just like overall, just this clear life plan. And I think that part of the culprit for this unrealistic expectation is partially pop culture. I think that because the 20s are such a turbulent time, a lot of shows focus on it, but also like to focus on I feel like people like having it together a little bit more than maybe in reality in a lot of these different like sitcoms and TV shows we watch.
Hmm.
But then also social media and just the comparison culture that we have.
Hmm.
So we have these curated online presences and personas that just create this illusion of having it all together. And I think that this really affects everyone's self-esteem and mental health and just perpetuates this myth of perfection.
Mm.
I know that I'm not posting my failures on social media, my L's, like because ain't nobody gotta see want to see that.
Yeah.
But I think everyone does that. So we have now this constant stream of seeing people going on these expensive vacations, and it seems like they're doing it all the time.
People's morning routines.
Yeah,
Like that,
get ready with
yeah,
me.
I
Yeah,
guarantee you that is not how they wake up
yeah,
every day.
exactly.
Not to say social media is toxic, but
Hmm.
it can give you a warped sense of reality.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's like, oh, I want to do XYZ because I see whatever influencer doing XYZ. And I was like, and I will say personally, it's like the only what that motivated me in the past to do was just like buy like, oh, I want to like buy pajamas. I want to be
Yeah,
like, I want to feel like I'm being put together even when I'm like going to
right.
sleep and like have
Yeah,
matching pajama sets and wake up and make my bed every morning, which I probably should do, but that's just like not my personality. And it just gives us a not a false sense of reality, but like definitely a warped sense. Like this is not their everyday. So
right.
like you striving to be this idealized version of someone's self. They're only the good parts of themselves
Yeah,
is what they're showing. Because like you said, like
yeah.
people don't some people show like the bad sides of things, but like there are
There's
some
usually
people that
like
just like curate, just have a
right.
curated sense of themselves.
But I feel like also the people who show the bad portions of their lives almost also have this curated presence of
Like an
like,
extreme bad.
well,
Or
no, like it's like they're trying to like it's usually like a influencer who's trying to be relatable. So like
okay.
I almost feel like even their failures are curated to kind of like push whatever narrative
Narrative.
that they're selling.
Yeah.
I just think that everything you see online just really it just makes you feel like everyone else has everything so much more
Right.
together, and they really don't. Like everyone I've talked to is just like struggling financially. I know like pretty much everyone I know is struggling dating wise in their 20s, and we're like most of my friends are in our late 20s.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating when there seems to be this collective dissonance between what we're all experiencing versus what we all think we're experiencing.
Right.
It's very interesting to me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
I feel like, so yeah, I think that the 20s, we need to focus on it as more being a decade of exploration.
Right.
We are finding what brings us happiness and fulfillment.
Right.
We're defining what makes us feel successful and
Right.
what maybe makes us feel less successful. And we need to take time to explore as much as we can while we're still young enough that we can fail at it and be okay.
Right.
And embrace these failures because it's literally just taking us and leading us onto a better path. And the more failures that we have, the more we will be set in our path later in
Right.
life.
I don't know where and when I say we as dilemmas, got this sense of that we have to have everything figured out by, say, 25. I
Yeah.
don't know where, I
Yeah,
know,
where did that arbitrary number come
yeah,
from?
like where did that come from? I think I told you this when I was in college. I was like, oh, I like by the time I'm like a senior in college, I would have been dating the person or met the person that I plan to spend like the rest of my life with, that I
Yeah.
plan on getting married. And I get a plan on getting married by like, let's say 23, like because it's like 2 years
Hmm.
post grad. And then like probably have kids by like 25.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I'm 27 and I had none, none of those things are
I think it's just like when we're younger, 25 seems so mature.
right.
And then it's almost like when we're in high school and we see people in their 20s and we're like, wow, they're so old.
I
But like
know.
then when you're in it, you're like, I'm still a kid. And
Exactly.
I'm gonna get vulnerable for a
Yeah.
minute
Yes.
and share the story of how my life fell apart in my mid 20s. But I'm better off for it
Yeah.
now. So I will say age 25, 26 sucked. It was not great for me. I had a 5-year relationship that I was in throughout my early 20s and the
Mhm.
latter part of college that unexpectedly fell apart after we had been discussing our next steps of our lives together. And I felt like the rug was just really pulled out from under me because I had had a job at that time that I loved. I had a relationship that I thought was going to be, end game. And within the span of 2 months, both of those things fell apart. I
Right.
was laid off, and then um, my boyfriend unexpectedly broke up with me. So that was a really difficult time because I was felt very lucky that I had it figured out
Hmm.
and I had this very clear path in my head that just changed within the span of like a few months.
Hmm.
And so that was really hard to digest. But if I'm honest with you, I really think that it set me on a path that I am really happy to be on right now.
Yeah.
And I feel so much more confident and secure in myself than I have ever before
Yeah.
after going through those failures,
Yeah.
essentially.
And I've told you this
Yeah.
before. And because I like we
Hmm.
like knew you during that time, but
Yes.
like
Yeah.
and I've said this before, and I think like between that time and now, I have seen you like grow so much
Aw.
and what is it, become more and more sure of yourself and the things that you're doing. You've managed to and progress in your career path. I've seen you grow and develop, and I'm just so I'm like happy for
Aw.
you in the place that you are now.
That means a lot. Yeah. And my reason to share that story was just to show that things don't always work out the way that you think that they
Right.
are. And it's okay for things to fall apart
Right.
sometimes. And you will always get back up. And it's important to remember that. And yeah, so that was a tough time.
But yeah, no, I mean you have this idea of how you think things are gonna go, but sometimes like things change. Like the only constant in life is change.
Hmm.
Like I think we talked about that on our second episode about when like and how like we graduated into COVID and we didn't plan that. We had this like idea of how things were gonna go and how our early 20s leaving college finally being done with like the 17 years long of school and just being finally being done with school and then it's like no, that's it's like this is not
Now you're just in the school of life.
hard knocks, school of hard knocks.
Or not.
Uh, yeah, going back to I don't know where these arbitrary timelines came from or what it is, but people are constantly growing. Even people, even in their 30s, that don't have it figured
Oh.
out and have it together. And then also, it's because you're like, oh, I have to have things figured out in my 20s. Like, there's constantly things changing because people get older. They can have like, kids, get married, and then they
Mhm.
could just go through a divorce or
Yeah.
have like experience a loss, and their life is thrown upside down. So, and they're having to readjust.
No, I think what you're saying makes total sense. Like there's this myth of perfection that sort of breeds this fear of failure, but that's sort of counterproductive because the failure is what is helping us. Like
Yeah,
the failures in a way are successes because we're learning from
yeah,
them and we're growing from them
yeah.
and it's helping us evolve and mature. And that's one of the reasons I love the show Sex and the City is because it paints like women in their 30s as like it shows the messy parts. It
Right.
talks about the messy parts. I think it's nice to have those pieces of pop culture that sort of do dive into the more messy aspects of adult life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, people's idea of perfection is different. I like
Mhm.
your version of perfection might be different than my version of
So true.
perfection.
Yeah.
So it's like perfection, like who, like based on who, like based on whose idea of perfection.
Hmm.
And and it's also like and for me, I want to say that maybe like my idea of perfection now of like developing is me just thinking back of like would my younger self be proud of the person of who I
Yeah.
am? So, or would they admire the person I am? You know, maybe not even trying to define perfection, but just like assessing, like, oh, would my younger self like the me now? So,
Hmm.
I don't know.
I think it's great that you're defining your successes by your personal growth and how you're growing as a person. Like,
Hmm.
am I becoming a better person? Am I, you know, growing and changing in a positive way? I think that's a great way to measure success because
Right.
material things can always come and go.
Right.
Relationships come and go, but the
Right.
one thing that is a constant in your life is yourself,
Yeah.
and you can really only measure yourself against yourself.
Right.
And I think that's important for people to remember. And it's important for people to realize that it's okay for them to not know. It's okay for them to not be as good at something as someone else, or at least someone else appears better
Hmm.
than them at something. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So just prioritizing the journey over the destination and shifting the focus from outcomes to growth,
Hmm.
essentially, I think is really important. And I think people should celebrate small wins a little bit more too, like emphasizing the importance of, like you were saying, personal growth, and even just small forms. Like,
Right.
I notice sometimes I react to situations way more maturely now than I would have a year ago. Like I'll kind of reflect and be like, wow, I really handled this way better than I would have even 6 months ago. And
Right.
that's a win to me.
Yeah.
So just small things like that. I mean, I think like you said, success isn't a one size fits all concept, and it's okay if your version looks different. And I think when someone thinks that they failed, it's interesting to me because a lot of times other people will explain their failures to me and it won't really sound that bad to me, but it's like earth shattering to them. So I think that we are also creating our own failures in our own minds.
Right.
Like we're saying, like, oh, I failed at this because I'm not living up to my own standard to something, but to
Yeah.
other people, it doesn't really seem as bad as it does to
Right.
us.
And I think also the idea of what I think what it's kind of like a catalyst to it or whatever however you want to say it is like definitely like people comparing themselves to others and
Hmm.
having like oh like I'm the same age as someone else and this is happening for them and me thinking that this should be happening for me like I know people that I graduated college with I know people that I graduated high school with have had kids for years and years and years now.
Hmm.
But like the people that I graduated from college with, I just maybe because I've known them more recently and like um somewhat closer to them
Yeah.
and like they are like I know some people. It's interesting because there are people that are around the same age in various stages of their lives.
Yeah.
Like I know people that are like just like dating like they're just like dating like casually dating people. I
Yeah.
know some people in like the beginning stages of relationships or like in serious relationships. I know people that are married with kids
Yeah.
and like and around like the same age. And you know what? That's okay for everyone. Like where you're at in life, that is okay, you know?
Hmm.
So it's just interesting. And I'm like, I actively try to not compare myself to like other people. I'm like, oh my God, they're like compare myself to other people. I'm like, oh, this is where I should be. Because sometimes there are people that are like, they there are people that I'm like, oh, I should be like they how they are. But there are some people that are like, oh, I would love to be in my specific situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, you know?
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think we're in such a funny time where, like you said, some people are like literally like having children and kind
Mhm.
of moving into maybe another phase of their life.
Right.
And then other people are focusing on their careers and not really as focused on having children. It's just sort of the ever evolving nature of our 20s. And, just to basically like summarize the theme, like it's okay to change paths. It's okay to make mistakes. And everyone just needs to focus on the journey,
Yeah.
essentially.
It's not about the destination. It's about the
It's about the friends we make along the way.
journey.
No, but really though, because I mean, like, I do think that like I have made some good friends on this crazy journey of
Yeah.
life, and I appreciate them all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like for certain there like sometimes there are certain situations that would be like catalysts for various friendships. Sometimes like bad things are a catalyst for good things, you know?
No, you're so right, and it's important to remember like the way you're feeling right now is not how you're gonna feel forever
Right.
in any given context.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious, like, what are some small wins that you celebrate in your life that make you feel maybe successful or at least productive?
Productive. I think I've mentioned, I don't know, have I mentioned this before? I like to get do my nails.
Hmm.
And when I have, and actually have been, I haven't had nails on in like 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm probably gonna do my nails tonight, and they'll make me like just give me a sense of
Yeah.
renewal, and just like make me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So when I like when I feel like I have all my self-care and self-maintenance stuff done, it might sound superficial, but like when my hair is done, when my nails are done, when I like cut my eyebrows and they're like actually I can actually draw them into a more appealing shape, I
Hmm.
feel, good about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's fair. Like doing your nails is something you really like and are
Yeah.
like passionate about, and I think that's great.
Passion is a strong word.
Well, I guess maybe not like
I'm kidding.
passionate,
I'm
but
kidding.
like you find it fun
Yeah.
and you makes you feel put together and it's a
Yeah.
small win.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then also like what I said, like when I'm waking up early and I feel like I've been productive in that day.
Yeah.
Also when my room is organized because that is I don't want to say that's few and far in between,
Yeah.
but I'm working on being more organized. Or when I feel like my apartment is aesthetically pleasing and it's neat and I have like when I have a candle lit and I've like made dinner and I'm just feeling super cozy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
those are, what was the question?
Just like small wins that you
Oh yeah,
celebrate. Yeah.
small wins. So what about you, JJ?
Um, I feel like honestly, I feel productive and I celebrate small wins like I accomplished a task that I've been putting off maybe and I don't know, it just feels so good to I don't know, finally clear out your sink of dishes or get all your laundry
Right.
hung up in your closet. Have your bed made, like
Yeah.
small things like that. It's just things that are everyday markers of success that I can easily reach and it helps me feel like organized, I guess. Like I know this isn't very profound or anything, but it really does help to
Oh,
have these small markers of success that, I don't know, help you feel more put together than maybe you are feeling in that moment
so like things
overall.
that make you feel good. I will another thing that I will say, which is it goes back to the social media stuff, but it
Yeah.
detracts from the point that I made previously. Because I love when I go like on a trip and I like take aesthetically pleasing pictures
Hmm.
and I post them online and
Yeah.
people see the exciting things. And it's actually funny because I was talking to someone that I hadn't talked to in a while
Uh-huh.
and they're like, "Oh, like I seen all the pictures that you um that you've been posting, and it just like it seems like everything's so exciting and happening in
Yeah.
your life. And I was like, huh, that's crazy. Because I don't remember what specifically was going on at the time, but I was like, that was not the case. That was not the case.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we're only looking at the highlight reels of people's lives on
right,
social media.
exactly. So, but I will say I do enjoy like, and I guess, and maybe it's not me posting online. It's maybe me like taking trips and
Yeah.
like and because like again we both have design backgrounds, so
Hmm.
I like when things are aesthetically and visually pleasing,
Yeah.
not necessarily like not like in a people sense,
Same
like
here. I
when
do love an aesthetic photo.
yeah, I love like when my room or like living room is aesthetic or kitchen's aesthetic or I'm in
Hmm.
a an aesthetic like restaurant or location. Ooh, I also like going to restaurants. In college, I was like, oh, I really want an internship, not because of yeah, obviously because of the ability to, you know, get a job after I
Yeah.
graduate, but also because I want to be able to afford going to nice restaurants,
Yeah.
decent restaurants.
Yeah. And I think that sort of ties into the next point I want to make that success is also maybe not what we thought it would be back when we were thinking about our futures.
Hmm.
So, for example, I think that there's sometimes a difference between being successful in a career in that you make a lot of money, but then you're not really feeling fulfilled in your heart, essentially. So I think that that's interesting way to define success there as well, because it's two different types of success, and
Right,
it's like deciding what you want.
right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know if that made any sense. I mean, I'm not doing exactly what I thought that I would be doing back in college when I was dreaming big and stuff, but
Hmm.
I'm still happy because I have a job that allows me to be creative but still pays the bills. So that's another win for me, even though it's maybe not this big bougie career that I envisioned for myself or
Hmm.
something. So yeah.
Maybe one day you'll have a big bougie career.
You're right, because life doesn't stop in our 20s. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's the thing, another thing is I really don't like the sentiment that we're old now
Yeah,
that we're in our late 20s. Like,
yeah,
we have so much life ahead of us,
yeah.
and one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, "Oh, like 27, you're so old."
It's
I'm like,
crazy.
"What?" Like
It,
I've had guys tell me like they'll be like 24, 25 and they'll be like, "Oh, you're like a cougar for talking to me." And I'm like, "You're literally like 3 years younger than me."
I was gonna say, so wait till you get to this age, buddy.
No, it just and I realize that there are big maturity gaps in your 20s, but it's wild to me when a 25, 26-year-old is telling me that I'm a cougar because I'm 27.
That's crazy.
I'm like,
That's
"What?"
crazy.
Like it's almost like I feel like there's a weird expectation too for women to settle down
Hmm.
in your late 20s. Like it's almost like because we haven't attached ourselves to a man, there's something wrong with us
Yeah,
at this point. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, do you know that feeling?
yeah.
I
No,
sometimes get that vibe.
and it's crazy because I have always been the biggest proponent of like I sorry, that's I don't know if that's I've always been the biggest proponent of embracing like being single because I was single for such a long time and I never really minded it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just I I think it's just so important to know who you are and knowing yourself with the absence of someone else's opinion. So you're
Hmm.
able to form your own sense of self and just like know what you truly want and have experiences so you can like be absolutely sure like this is what you want. And then honestly, and even with that, like when you get older, things might change and like what you want and your perspectives might change again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, again, like this arbitrary timeline of when you're supposed to do XYZ in your life or when you're supposed to
Yeah.
settle down and be in a relationship. But yeah, no, especially for women.
So I guess to wrap things up, remember that success in your 20s doesn't have to look like everyone else's version, and it's up to you to like rewrite the narrative and find what fulfills you.
Yeah.
You got to make your own path and just embrace the journey. So I guess thanks for tuning in. I know this was a short episode, but yeah, keep thriving on your own terms, everybody. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, if you would like to, if there are any ideas for for any episodes or things you want to share,
Yeah.
any critiques.
Feel free to DM us on our Instagram, which is The Zillemma, or email us at thezillemma@gmail.com.
Yes, that is the Zalema at gmail.com.
In case you didn't hear it the
In case
first
you
time.
didn't.
All right. Bye.